guys, Anne Marie here, and today I'm sharing Cute Cards Quick number 5. Each video in this series features a simple cutting template to use up an entire 6x6 paper pad to quickly make a bunch of cute cards. I'll also include some time-saving tricks and tips as well as some design step-ups as we go. If you're interested in my other 6x6 paper pad to card videos, I will add a link here and in the description box below to a playlist with all of the Cute Cards Quick templates that I've shared so far. The formula we're using today will give us 57 traditional A2 cards from this paper pad, which had 48 papers. The 6x6 paper pad I'm using today is by Echo Park, called Gather at Home, that has this pretty subdued color palette and some really homey patterns. There's a lot of solids as well, and the papers are double-sided, which gave me a lot of mix and match options. Here's the cutting template I'm going to use. I am going to make 2 cuts, one all the way across side to side at the 3/4 inch mark, and one all the way down top to bottom at the 2-inch mark. This will leave me with a 4 by 5¼ inch card front, a 3/4 inch by 6-inch strip piece, and a 2 by 5¼ inch strip piece. To save time, you can cut multiple sheets of paper if your trimmer can handle it. Next, I used those 2 smaller pieces to construct a large banner to overlay on the card front. I simply laid down the 3/4 inch strip down the middle of the 2-inch strip, then cut off approximately the bottom 2 inches. I did make a template out of scrap cardstock, but it was eyeballed, and I didn't use it to create the actual fishtail, and I'll get to that in a second. You might notice that I have these little odd pieces. I'm going to set those aside, and I'm going to make some bonus cards with those at the end. All right, so this left me with a 2-inch by approximately 3½ inch rectangle with a 3/4 inch strip running down the center. I cut up about 1½ inches or so from the bottom, and then I cut up from each bottom corner to the top of that initial cut. That gave me a large fishtail banner end. And a few ways you could zhuzh this up if you want. You could use a border punch or die to add kind of a decorative spin to that center strip. You could make a template that is very precise and then just cut your fishtail straight from the template. And you could also run a narrow piece of ribbon or washi down the center, maybe layer it under or to the side of the center strip of paper. And that would add like another layer of color, and it could use up some more of your stash if that's one of your goals. I also chose to stamp some of my solids at this point. Unfortunately, I didn't save that footage, but I just chose some stamps that fit with the icons on the papers. I used ink colors that complemented the paper colors. You could, another kind of time-saving tip, you could choose to use all 3 pieces for the card front from the same piece of paper. So take those 3 pieces, the big card mat, the bigger rectangle, the tiny strip, and just flip the bigger rectangle so that your fishtail banner will be the back side of that piece of paper. And then your center strip down the middle of the banner will perfectly match the background panel. That's if you want it to be very matchy-matchy. I kind of like a little chaos, so I just went through all my pieces and I made combinations until the well ran dry. I adhered my banners down on my base. Again, I eyeballed it. All this eyeballing is time-saving for me. I did kind of set my banner about a 1/2 inch away from the right edge. For the sentiments, I die cut several ovals from white scrap cardstock. I chose a sentiment and just stamped all of the ovals in black ink with the sentiment, but then I did add some colorful dots to either side. Those dots kind of acted, those little pops of color. They helped the sentiment coordinate better since I stamped them all in black, and they look kind of like little mini brads, which I love, but man, what a hassle it would have been to poke and spread 96 mini brads on all of these sentiment panels. Plus, it would have made everything lumpier and more difficult to mail. But I did have a little dimension because I used foam tape to stick down the completed ovals. Just in general, I feel like this was still quicker, easier, and it's going to be easier to mail. I did, however, make a kind of big mistake here. I stuck everything down. This is what happens when I stick things down, guys. As I go, I end up changing my mind about something crucial, and it really takes me a long time to recover from it. I decided that the fake mini brads weren't quite enough color, and I also wanted a little more texture, a little softness, some movement. So I found embroidery floss in various coordinating colors and was going to loop the floss around and tie a little bow. The problem though is that I can't simply just run it under the banner because I had adhered things down very well and they had sat for a little while. And so I could not peel them up and put the floss underneath because it was going to tear up all of my bases. Was not going to be easy, was not going to be successful. I'd also already used the foam tape that I mentioned on my sentiments, and that stuff doesn't move. So, at least not the stuff that I was using. So, I ended up having to wrap the floss kind of around the oval sentiment, like literally just kind of winding it around the foam tape that was underneath. When I tied the bow, of course, if I pulled it tight, that was going to pull the knot and the bow underneath the sentiment. So then I had to tie it kind of loose, and then I daubed a little bit of glue under the knot to secure it to the kind of upper left part of the oval where it intersected the banner. This was messy, and it was random, and it was tedious, and it really took the shine off this project for me. I really wish that I'd figured this out before I adhered the banner down. It's just always so helpful to lay things out without adhesive and really consider it first, but I just get distracted and impatient and think I know what I want. And all right, but when all was said and done, I thought these were cute cards. I was left with 48 cards. So basically every piece of paper made a card, but I did also still have this pile of 48 weird little rectangle pieces as well. So first I went through all of them and I trimmed off the extra 1/2 inch that was sticking off of each side. I turned the rectangle so that now the center strip, this 1/2 inch strip, is running left to right instead of up and down. I mixed and I matched again. I grouped pieces roughly by dominant color, about 5 per card. I did the eyeballed fishtail trick again, and I got a ton of these cute little banner pieces. So I think by the time all was said and done, like I said, I had 48 of these scraps, but using 5 per card, that was enough for 9 cards. I laid these out as bunting on my card fronts. I trimmed off the overhang on each side, and then I used pen work to connect the pieces. I chose a different sentiment for this batch because I was filling a different size space, and I just stamped the sentiments in complementary colors. I also punched hearts out of scraps in coordinating colors to kind of top the banners. They just kind of felt like they needed something. At any rate, I did end up with some cute cards. Here are all the cards I created, a grand total of 57. Thank you so much for watching. I know it took forever for this video to come out. I've just not been in a video creating mood or mode, but it's summertime, so we'll see. Hopefully I'll be doing this a little bit more often. I really appreciate you watching though, and I hope you enjoyed this video or that it sparked some ideas for you to try and that you'll consider subscribing. I will see you soon, hopefully again with a new video, and in the meantime, I hope you have a scrappy, happy week. Bye!